If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of the Mind Pump, so we talk a lot about fitness in this episode, but before we do, we have fun introductory conversation that lasts about 40 minutes. Here's what we talked about. So for the first 40 minutes, we covered the supplements rhodiola and reishi. Now, reishi is a mushroom that aids with anxiety. It has good adaptogenic properties. It helps balance out the body's stress systems. Our favorite supplier of reishi is Four Sigmatic. Four Sigmatic makes amazing mushroom-based supplements. If you go to Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/mindpump, you'll get 15% off your order. Then we talked about Jillian Michaels' terrible kettlebell swing form.
Oh, my God.
Unbelievable.
Please look that up on YouTube.
CrossFit is off Facebook and Instagram. What the hell's going on? Then we had
No, we miss you.
We had a whole conversation about privacy, big government, and technology. And then we get into the fitness part of this episode. So the first fitness question was, what are the benefits of squatting below parallel? And is it worth it to do so for the average person? So should you squat down to 90 degrees or should you go all the way down?
Ass to grass.
Next question, what are the biggest myths in fitness? The question after that, what are our thoughts on at-home fitness programs like those made by Beachbody? And the final question, we have talked about the importance of influencing people to help change their behaviors, in particular clients that we've trained. This person wants us to share some of our strategies, so we talk all about how to get people to get healthier behaviors, especially if you're their trainer. Also, I want to remind everybody, you have 72 hours, that's it, 3 days left for the 50% off sale on MAPS HIT. Now remember, HIT stands for High Intensity Interval Training. This program is super effective calorie burner and fat burner in the short term, so it's great right before summer. Again, it's 50% off. Here's what you got to do. Go to MAPS HIT, that's MAPSHIIT.com, and use the code HIT50 for the discount, HIIT50, and get that discount. Make sure you do this now.
T-shirt time!
And it's T-shirt time.
Oh, shit, Doug. You know it's my favorite time of the week.
Yes, it is.
Yippee-ki-yay.
All right, a little light on reviews for both iTunes and Facebook. We have two winners for iTunes. We have Lizard0316 and Akabat. Both of you are winners. For Facebook, we have Abby Patterson and Brandon Manchego. You are both winners. Send the name I just read to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, and include your Instagram handle, and we'll get those shirts right out to you.
I want to see if you guys recognize this song. It popped in my head.
Is this song on a cartoon or something? It sounds like a cartoon song. Yeah.
When you woo, woo, woo.
Doesn't that sound like a cartoon song, Adam?
That sound like a cartoon song?
Yeah, like it's like a love scene in there.
I forgot that was a real song, dude. I was dying laughing because
you sang it without realizing it?
Yeah, like it was just banked in my memory somewhere deep, and I was just like, it came up where somebody said woo, and I'm like, yeah, because when you woo, woo, woo.
What did you sing yesterday that I pulled up on Spotify? Because I was like,
oh, yeah.
Vibrant thing? What is it?
Oh, gosh damn it, dude.
It was another.
Why can't we remember?
It was. He said something. I'm like, I have that on my Spotify list right now.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because it wasn't a great song.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the Cobra Kai, and they throw those old 80s songs out there, and so it's like, it's bringing all this shit back.
We're finally at the age where, because for a while there, marketers advertise directly to us because we're at the prime buying age.
Yeah.
And then we get too old for that, and so we're kind of like, what the hell? Nobody's paying attention. But now we're at the age where it's nostalgia.
Yeah, totally.
So now they market again to us with old shit that we did when we were...
You know what? Do they use songs much anymore for commercials? That worked really well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like forever in my head. Like I can't get it out.
I can't. Is it ever going to be cool to wear Velcro shoes again? Because I just... When I was really young, that was the shit, man.
It's lazy.
You're hoping for that one.
Dude, Velcro... You know who the only people who wear shoes that are closed by Velcro are kids
5-year-olds and 80-year-olds.
and really old people.
Yeah, 5 and 80.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yeah.
You know, that's how are Velcro shoes like diapers? Yeah, exactly. But I would love a pair of Velcro shoes. It's pushing it a little too far for me. I'll push that. I'll dance on the edge.
You're pressing that dad envelope though.
Yeah, but that's granddad.
The granddad.
Yeah,
status,
I'm dad. I'm not granddad.
Hey, what is it, Sal? What is it about rhodiola that makes me sleepy?
Slippy?
Sleepy.
Rhodiola is
Because it's supposed to give you energy, right? Shouldn't that give me energy?
so studies show that rhodiola does give people stamina and energy, but in Chinese medicine they would consider rhodiola a yang or yang herb, and if you have too much yang energy, then throwing yang herbs on top of it can cause the opposite effect, where you feel feverish or cloudy or tired.
Yeah, it makes me sleepy. It's the weirdest thing ever. Like I'll take I'll take something that has it in there, and then like maybe I don't know, about an hour or so, I just feel tired.
That's the thing about
Too much yang.
That's the no. That same thing happens to me. So Red Panic's ginseng. So Red Panic's ginseng is like the ginseng. It's the stimulating version. You guys ever go to supplement stores or Whole Foods or whatever, and you see those? They look like little vials of ginseng. Have you ever seen them? They're like in little glass vials, and they come with a straw, a little tiny straw, and you poke the straw through and you suck it through, and it tastes like shit. But it's very, very high dose ginseng. And my uncle is a Chinese herbalist. He's not Chinese, he's Italian, but he's Chinese medicine, right? And just want to be clear.
That's confusing.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, he used to give people this for energy instead of caffeine, and my dad would drink it and then feel like shit. And so my uncle explained why, and that's for me too. I went to a Chinese herbalist at one point, and I said, yeah, they did all their tests on me. So what they'll do is they'll look at your tongue, they'll look at your face, they'll measure your pulse. I forgot what else they do, but there's this way that they assess you. And what's funny now though is the pulse thing. Now we're finding all these relationships with heart rate variability. Yeah. So because I would ask them, like, how do you know by my heartbeat? And they're like, well, there's lots of things we pay attention to: how fast your heart rate is, the strength of the heartbeat, if it's consistent. And so pretty weird, right? That they kind of figured some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
But anyway, the lady who was helping me, she said, you have a lot of yang energy.
Yeah.
And so if you take yang herbs or supplements, it's just going to make you'll eventually just start to feel crappy, which is exactly what happens to me when I have lots of red ginseng. For me, it was I had to do the what is the opposite of yang? I can't believe I get yin. I needed yin herbs or supplements. So Siberian ginseng, which is not really a ginseng, it's actually a different root than regular ginseng, but they call it Siberian ginseng, has a little bit more of a yin effect. And so if I do Siberian ginseng, I'll feel okay. Now, there are some things that seem to work for most people, and those are the traditional, balanced, adaptogenic herbs that tend to give people more yang when they need it or yin when they need it. Reishi is a little bit more yin, but it seems to be balanced. In fact, it's funny. I had on that topic, I had a message from somebody who said, "Hey, I listened to your podcast, and you talk about reishi for anxiety, for sleep, and that kind of stuff." And she said, "I took it, and I really didn't get many effects from it." And so I said, "Well, what's the dose, and how are you using it?" And so she showed me. She sent a picture of the bottle, and so I said, "Try Four Sigmatic, because the way that they use the reason why I like Four Sigmatic so much is the way that they extract the effective components of the mushrooms is they use they both ground the mushroom, and they use a water technique where so it's like using it so what you can do if you want to use these things is you can either get a mushroom, make a tea out of it, or you can ground up the mushroom and eat it, both of which have kind of different benefits. Four Sigmatic does both. So she used Four Sigmatic, came back, and she's like, "Oh, okay, now I can see."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's the other thing too, is that sometimes where you're getting it from and how it's been produced will determine how you feel. So like if you go to another Chinese medicine specialist, they may tell you to make a tea with something, or they may tell you to grind up something, or they may tell you to do both. And Four Sigmatic is obviously they're making products for the masses, so they're just trying to make it as effective as possible. So they include both the ground, it's a dual extraction process, they'll call it. So if you want to see if adaptogenic herbs and mushrooms and stuff like that, they really work for you, I would go with what I consider the best brand, which is the Four Sigmatic. But reishi has a good effect on me. Chaga has a good effect on me. Cordyceps has a performance boosting effect that I notice, but it's also more balanced than other performance enhancing mushrooms and herbs. In other words, usually traditionally performance enhancing herbs and mushrooms are in the yang category. They're stimulating. Cordyceps is not stimulating, although it does improve performance. So like cordyceps, I'll take that, and I don't get that weird feeling that I'll get if I have too many stimulating herbs and mushrooms, which some people love, like rhodiola. A lot of people love that shit. They take it and they're like, fuck, I feel it's better than caffeine for me. I don't
Doug really likes the rhodiola, right?
Yeah, Doug responds pretty well to it.
Yeah. I tried it like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, okay, consistently every time I was using it, I noticed that I was like sleepy afterwards. That's it. I didn't see any other adverse effects, but it was like the first time I did, I was like, man, am I that tired that I need more than that? Am I that tired? By about the 4th or 5th time, I was like, okay, this obviously affects me that way. And then I remember saying it to you, and you're like, yeah, that happens to the exact same thing.
And this is what I love about, because guys know I have a good time with supplements. One thing I love about supplements that people don't realize is that there's so much, there can be a total individual variance in how your body reacts and how you feel on particular supplements. And I think people forget this. So they may use something and be like, it sucks, not realizing that, no, it actually doesn't suck. For me, it doesn't work well. And also, on the flip side of that, I was very hard-headed as a kid. So if I knew a supplement was supposed to work,
and it didn't, you'd still keep doing it.
I would keep doing it to the point where it would fuck with my gut or my sleep, and I'd be like, no,
A lot of people are like that.
Studies say this works. I'm gonna keep. Like, I'll get messages from people. Creatine gives me diarrhea. I've been taking it for 4 months. Should I keep taking it?
Yeah.
No.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the biggest sign is that you shouldn't take it? Your diarrhea.
It's right there.
That's not helping you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop taking it right away. So that's why at the end of the day, you got to listen to your body when you do all these things. So, dude, did you guys see that video of Jillian Michaels teaching a kettlebell swing or whatever she thought it was? I don't know.
Oh my God. Are you serious? Dude, I was like brought to this attention from one of my friends who I was just talking about like performing a kettlebell swing, and like unfortunately it's been tough to find models and people that can actually do like a really solid kettlebell swing. and my friend was like, well, have you seen Jillian Michaels' version of a kettlebell swing? And I was like, no, I have not. I mean, I'm aware of a lot of Jillian Michaels' teaching techniques, and that sparked my attention right away. I'm like, I got to check this out. And she did not disappoint. She took it to a whole new level, dude. I've never seen
was it as bad as Joe Donnelly's?
Oh, worse.
Was it
worse?
Way worse.
Yeah,
Really?
Joe, both of them terrible. But Joe Donnelly did a weird squat, front raise, it was like a shoulder raise.
And to be fair, that's pretty typical for like somebody who's really stiff and rigid, whatever. Like that's like how most people in a lot of like bodybuilding kind of gyms, like I'll see doing kettlebell swings where they kind of squat with it and then they'll raise their shoulders.
Front raised,
yeah. And so totally is not what the intent was. But this was like basically a combo of it was kind of like a CrossFit where they go really high over the head, American style, I guess they call this, and then she goes under and she's cueing them to look behind them through their legs. So basically rounding their back and then like looking behind them and being pulled and then, coming out of that and whiplashing their spine.
Yeah. So, when you have exercise descriptions, like how to do this exercise, and there's like, these are the things that you do that you should do. Here's your cues. And then they'll have a list of like, whatever you do, don't do these things when you do this exercise. It's almost as if she read that.
Yeah. Well, I just don't understand. I'm sure it's an old video. I'm going to try and give her a little bit of credit that, like, I know when she started, she had, like, AFA and, like, one other
She had one cert. That's
cert.
it.
But she not even till later after she got, like, the audition for, Biggest Loser and all that. And so it was, like, very much, like, aerobic, background, which those classes, you see the kind of shenanigans they do in those classes to begin with, but
I remember somebody who
looked like she just made that shit up.
I remember somebody who worked with her back when she first started as a trainer, and they told me like that when her and Bob did the auditions for the original Biggest Loser and got on there, like they were like she wasn't even like one of the better trainers, but she was just marketable.
Of course,
It was the.
They're not trying to get a good trainer. They're trying to get a good face and a good personality that's going to sell the show. This is where integrity comes into play for personal training. Like when I mention integrity, or when we talk about integrity, part of it is not teaching and instructing things that you don't have expertise in, or that you can't teach.
Right.
For example, I will never, unless I take a course and really practice and learn this, I will never teach Olympic lifts. I just won't. I know what a good one looks like. I know what a bad one looks like.
Right.
I could theoretically talk about it. I could definitely talk about it on a podcast. Would I teach clients or teach athletes to Olympic lift? Nope. It's not a level. It's not something I have expertise in.
Right.
And so I'm not going to do that. And what ended up happening is kettlebells became a trend and became popular. And so she's like, we're going to throw kettlebells in here. And here's a kettlebell. She literally did, not only did she do it wrong in the video, she did all the things, the bad things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Which is completely bend over, reach between your legs.
Just a recipe for injury. It was so bad. It was like the worst one I think I've ever seen. And, that's the thing, to your point with that, like I remember, teaching, like, cause I've had like courses and gone through a lot of kettlebell training, but even then I was like, I'm not qualified. Like I'm like very hypercritical of like the kettlebell swing I'm like, we brought in, somebody like Mike Salemi to break it down to like the nth degree. But it's just like, for you to just put that out and then sell like a video like that to everybody, I was just like, I was appalled.
Dude, people don't realize how challenging it is too. Like here we are, we have a podcast, a YouTube channel, a media company, and at least monthly, sometimes weekly, we have discussions with our marketing team where we say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to say it that way, and we're not going to market that way. They're telling us what's going to sell more, and we're saying that's just wrong. Even if it's a little bit wrong, I don't want to put it out that way. Right. That's the big difference, and that's the problem, I think, with all the celebrity trainers. Because I have can you guys name one big mainstream trainer? I'm not talking about like, there's some that have a larger following on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm talking about big mainstream trainers. Can you name one that you're like, oh yeah, they're good?
Wasn't what's his name? I want to say Chris something. Oh, where's my phone at? I'm looking for my phone. Chris something. I forgot the name. He was on. I think Tom Bilyeu actually had him come on, and then I dove through some of his stuff, and I'm like, okay, some of this stuff that this guy's putting out is pretty solid. I can't think of his name right now.
Was he like a big?
Yeah, celebrity. He's a big celebrity trainer. He's like,
all right, well, that's good.
Yeah, like one.
I can't think of many.
Yeah, there's not very many.
I can't either. Yeah, they don't really stick out to me. Like the one, I just think of all the worst. Like I just, like you mentioned, all the Biggest Loser kind of people. Like it's just, it's nails on a chalkboard for me.
I know how. So I used to train a lot of doctors, right? And they used to get so irritated with TV, like doctors who are actual doctors, but on TV giving people advice. They get so irritated and be like, you would never say it that way, or you'd never communicate to a patient that way, or this is totally.
Yeah.
So I can understand. There's showbiz, and then there's like real.
Totally. And that's I don't know. I try not to talk a whole lot of shit because I get it. Like I get what people actually respond to now, especially watching like our YouTube and watching what kind of content we're trying to produce to actually gain followers and attention, but then try and funnel them into like quality information. Like here, like this is actually how you do it, but like that's a whole process. It feels like it's a bit of a compromise every time. But definitely not compromising our integrity. That's like the bottom line.
Yeah, hilarious. Hey, did you guys see the whole deal with CrossFit?
I did. It looked like someone hacked their Instagram and that's not what it was?
No.
Taylor and I were looking at it yesterday when we were at lunch, and that's what he was saying to me. He's like, "Oh, it looks like they hacked their Instagram, and so they shut it down."
So they deactivated. First off, CrossFit, the organization, right, deactivated all Facebook and Instagram pages indefinitely.
Whoa, indefinitely?
Forever.
What?
Off.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, they're gone. They're not coming back on Facebook and Instagram. Now they still have their Twitter. They still have their obviously their website. They still have a couple other places you can find them. let me see where
So
else
they're off Facebook primarily. Is this because they don't agree with Facebook, and like what was the thought
No,
process?
well, first off, look at this. So they're the CrossFit Games Instagram 2.4 million, CrossFit's Instagram 2.8 million, CrossFit Games Facebook 2.7 million, and then their CrossFit Facebook 3.1 million.
Pulled them all off
completely
and indefinitely.
forever.
Wow.
Whoa, what's
Forever.
what's
That's a major
Glassman
move.
saying about this?
So I read this in online, and it was I guess this is Glassman's explanation. So first off, what he said was all activity on CrossFit Incorporated's Facebook and Instagram accounts is suspended as of May 24, 2019, as CrossFit investigates the circumstances pertaining to Facebook's deletion of the Banting 7-day meal plan and other well-known public complaints about the social media company that may adversely impact the security and privacy of our global CrossFit community. So in a nutshell, Facebook doesn't comport with my community standards for privacy and decency, so we're out. So he's basically saying that what Glassman is saying is he doesn't agree with how Facebook does things. He doesn't agree with how they protect people's privacy. He doesn't agree with how Facebook deletes accounts, how they have like a, what's it called? It says here, so there was a low-carb, high-fat Facebook page with 1.6 million users, and Facebook just deleted them kind of without explaining things. And this is a complaint that a lot of people have had. It's like, hey, why are you guys deleting some people's pages and businesses and not others? So this is more of a stand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's more of a stand of like, we don't like what you guys are doing, so we're going to be off of all this.
It's kind of a major power move, dude. That's a big deal.
I respect it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's good for business.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good. Well, where are they moving? So they're just on Twitter. That's the only platform.
Twitter,
pretty much?
yeah, Twitter. They have the website still, but that's it. They're off of those two, and those were the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Those are the absolute. See, it says here. Here's some of the stuff that they were talking about. That Facebook collects and aggregates user information and shares it with state and federal authorities, as well as security organizations from other countries. True. And remember, Glassman is hardcore anti-big government.
Right. He's libertarian.
Yeah. He also says Facebook censors and removes user accounts based on unknown criteria and at the request of third parties, including government and foreign government agencies. And Facebook collects, aggregates, and sells user information as a matter of business. Its business model allows governments and businesses alike to use algorithmically conjured advertising categories as sophisticated data mining and surveillance tools. So it's a stand. He's taking a big stand, and he totally took.
So this is interesting to me because it's kind of like what we talked about just the other day on the podcast when I brought up the whole cars. They predict a $750 billion industry for the car data. I mean, that's the future is all data mining. I think that's what some of your most valuable companies are. We would think, oh, they created a cool search engine. Oh, they created this. They must be. That's why they make so much money is because they have all this data on us. And then they sell to other companies. Like, how do you avoid that completely? Like, it's just you're picking on Facebook and Instagram right now, but that's everything, everybody.
Well, I think we're going to see more of this. I think what we're going to see is more of this division where some people are like, look at.
So Eric Schmidt talked about this. It was kind of cool.
Did he?
Yeah, it was kind of cool to listen to his opinion because he actually talked about Russia, North Korea, China, and us, and being somebody who's traveled the world and been in tech and been all. He's like, it's really interesting to see the differences. Like America tends to be split down the middle. Like half of us trust it, the other half of us don't trust it at all, don't want it. Some countries like Russia don't trust their government whatsoever. They don't want any of that. Nobody is on that page. And then China is the complete opposite. Completely okay. Trust the government to do that, and they want that to help them make better decisions.
Wait a minute, you're saying Russia doesn't have their government try to control their media?
No, he says that they don't. They
don't trust the government.
The people.
Oh yeah.
He's talking about the people. Like he's talking about us, not the government themselves. He's talking about how we feel about it, and so that was his opinion. He goes, and he was talking about how because there's pros and cons to it. You talk about fighting like terrorism, the more information that the government has on this activity, obviously it would make it easier for them to predict potential terrorism and things like that. So there is a little bit of our country that people go like, well, it's good for these things, but I don't want them getting in these things, right?
And here's the thing: it's potentially good for those things. We have yet to see just quite. Is it really helping and preventing a lot of terrible acts?
Well, would you ever know, though?
That's exactly right. And all we know is if we look throughout history, the more, because remember this, there's only one legal authority that can imprison you, execute you, impose fines on you. In other words, steal your property, your money, your home, all that stuff. There's only one legal entity. There's only one entity that can do it legally. Like if a person did that to you or if a gang did that to you, they wouldn't be able to do that. But the government totally can. They have the power to do that. And so do you want to give the entity that has all that power, do you want to give them that power to do it? And do you want to give them more power? Do you want? And so this is always this is a very crucial debate and discussion around liberty. It really, really fucking is. Like here's the deal. Would we be okay with the government coming in our house, searching our stuff, and looking at our mail? Of course not. People would be like, fuck no. But they would. But sometimes people allow them to do that with us electronically. It's the same thing. It just doesn't feel as intrusive. And so it's a very interesting debate. And I think, because look, who is it? Jordan Peterson and what's the other guy that he debates with? And
Sam Harris?
Yeah, they left Patreon.
Yeah.
They were making millions of dollars on Patreon. They left for this very reason.
It's interesting because people don't really consider too, like having a Gmail or having like a Hotmail account or one of these free accounts like that. They have access to your emails.
Right.
It's like you've
forfeited that.
You forfeited it.
Yeah.
And it's that you have to be consistent all the way across the board. If like this is your stand, like you almost need to live somewhere where you're off the grid.
That's what I'm saying, Justin. I'm like, how do you
do that?
How do you avoid it in all these? How do you avoid it with your car? How do you avoid it with your email? How do you avoid it with Facebook?
So here's the thing. Let's say something came out that when it comes to email, I think there are some protections.
And also, how much of it is all bad? I mean, that's the part that it's a really good interview that Harbinger did. You guys should listen to it. I know Doug listened to it. I just think he brings up makes a really good talking point in discussion. And he wasn't saying one or the other. He doesn't have.
He's just talking about.
Yeah, he's talking about it, and he says, I kind of feel there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons to it. It's you're giving a lot of power to.
Yeah, I want to check that power, and so that's why again, like I respect moves like this to kind of like put that power in check and like have people recognize, like, yeah, we're willingly giving them all this, which is fueling their power even further, and it's like you got to be careful.
And I fully agree and appreciate what he's doing. What I mean by agree is I agree with his method, like. Some people would say we need to make laws that say that private companies, can't. Like we need to make laws that say that Facebook can't, do this stuff with us. But here's the deal: you agree to those terms when you go on Facebook. Now, if they're doing something that if they're breaking their contract, then they're liable for civil lawsuit. But if they're not, if they say to you, hey, by the way, anything you post on here, we own, and you still go on there, well, that's the agreement. Now, your choice is to fucking leave, and when I like what's happening, because this is a nice checks and balances. You're having enough big players who are starting to say, I don't like this. I'm going to move and try and do my own thing. What I think is going to happen is what we're going to start to see is markets are going to start getting created for more privacy, less censorship. You know what I'm saying? Like, will alternatives to things like Facebook and Instagram start popping up because enough people start to leave? Maybe will the other social media platforms fight? Maybe Twitter has been historically more tolerant of different voices and opinions. Like they like usually it's Facebook and Instagram will take someone off. Twitter will be like okay with them. Sometimes they'll take them off too. So it's an interesting situation. But I will say this: I respect what the guy is doing. I mean, from a business standpoint, he may be making a point that'll cost him his business. Right. But sometimes if you believe in something strong enough, that's kind of what you got to do. You know?
No, and I totally see that. And it'd be interesting to see if there are going to be other ones popping up, more competition kind of in the mix as if this is going to be, something that's going to cause and stir more big accounts to be removed, or remove themselves from Facebook.
Well, where do you guys stand on it? Are you pro? Are you completely pro? Or are you completely anti? Where are you at with it?
I think everything that I do on social media that I agree to, I'm obviously pro. What I want to do is I want to encourage the conversation so that people are aware, because I think what ends up happening, what's that saying, like you put a frog in a pot of water and then you slowly turn up the heat and doesn't realize it's getting boiled until it's too late.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the situation, that people are so unaware and so because it's so easy. You don't see somebody going through your mail.
Yeah.
You don't see somebody selling your shit or being manipulative. It just happens. And so because it's that way, people don't have normally people would stand up and be like, wait a minute, I don't know if I like this or not. So I like the conversation, and that's what I want to continue to happen. And I like that some people stand up and do their own thing. What I think is going to end up happening is you're going to end up having platforms. It's going to end up segregating things more. You're going to have platforms that have the super controversial shit. You'll have platforms that are family friendly. You'll have platforms that don't share things and are super private. And I think that's what's going to end up happening because there's a market for all those things.
Yeah, I like using it. I also like people that challenge it. I like people that point out things that will get me thinking. Like, oh, well, I wonder if I do agree with that. But in terms of like us all being able to interact with people and communicate, and like them digging through whatever the fuck I'm talking about, like, through text, like I'm not worried about that. I'm not like, I'm a pretty open book, in terms of that. So it's that doesn't worry me. What worries me is the power, the growth of power, and using that data, for to do whatever to like almost like
nefarious reasons.
Yeah, nefarious. Thank you. I was looking for that word. Yeah. So that's what I'm concerned with.
Yeah, like because they know they're pretty damn good at this now, at how to manipulate people's kind of thought processes and emotions. But this is not new. Okay, they've been doing this for a long time. Media has been doing this forever, and I'm pretty sure governments have influenced media for just as long. The term propaganda. That's where the term propaganda came from. This is something that they've been doing forever. I'll give you guys a great example. Here's a good example. This is confirmed. You can look this up if you want. This is a real thing. Actually happened. There was the Gulf of Tonkin incident that we used to motivate Americans to supporting the Vietnam War. Now we know for sure that it was bullshit, that it was all false, but that was what they used to get people to support a war that they really wanted to get into. Now, from the standpoint of the government, I'm not saying that they're evil and they're like, we want to make money by going to war. Sometimes this is what I think that happens. Sometimes I think that they're talking to each other and they're like, man, we got a big threat over here. Like the communism is spreading. Vietnam is about to lose to is about to become communist. The Soviets are moving in there quickly. They're going to be in Asia. We need to go in there to counter them. And this supporting the other side through arms and stuff like that, just not cutting it. We need to put our soldiers in there and make shit happen. And then they're all sitting around. The other people are saying, no way the public's going to support that. There's just no way. And they're saying, but we fucking need to do this. We know if they take over, then this is going to be very, very bad for freedom and this and that. And the other guy's like, well, but the Americans aren't going to support it. And so like, okay, we need to come up with a way to kind of manipulate people into supporting this because it's the best for. So it sounds terrible, but maybe they're the reason why they're doing it is they think that they're helping. Who the fuck knows, But it happens, and so you've got these big, social media giants that are for sure getting influenced now. I'm pretty sure at some point, Mark Zuckerberg was sitting with some government officials and like, here's the deal, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to help. You got to let us look at everybody's shit when we ask it.
And you
got to let us do certain things.
On those hearings, it just revealed how removed a lot of like our government officials are from technology in general. It's like we have these mega businesses that pretty much have everybody's information at their disposal, and yet our government is like completely unaware of even how to use this technology. It's like it's that's what scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, and the thing that I always come up with is I'm not saying that these people are bad and these people are good, and not at all. I largely trust our elected officials in government. I don't think they're necessarily good people. I think they're people, right? So there's good and there's bad. And I pretty much, I trust them for the most part, but what I don't trust is giving people a lot of power, because people can get influenced, and people are not angels. They're not altruistic, angelic beings.
That's such a hard thing to
people.
say, though, because it's like, where do you draw the line?
Well, where you draw the line is here. You just don't give them a shit ton of power. Like, you don't want a president who can just say, "Hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna pass all these crazy." Like, that's why we have a constitution. That's why we have rights. And in order to infringe on those, if you want to, you have to go through this crazy long ass process.
Yeah, but that same power is also capable of, let's say we have with Facebook and we have Google with the email and stuff like that. You have the ability to segment 10,000 people in the last month that have talked about building a bomb, have Google search building a bomb, right, belong to any hate private groups on Facebook, and you can now categorize all those people, and then they can be surveillanced or watched, and potentially catch somebody who's about to go to do some school shooting, and that happens, right? So it's like, if that were to happen, this conversation would be completely different, because everybody would be like, holy fuck, we saved a school of kids that could have got shot. Because we have this technology, we have this ability to watch people that are having these conversations, that are Googling this type of information, that are, and so
you're 100% right, Adam. But what I'm talking about is all power has two sides to it. So let me give you another example. Nuclear fission, nuclear power, incredible, amazing breakthrough of science, has the potential to fuel the world with energy that is relatively clean, and is almost limitless. The flip side of that, nuclear bombs, nuclear war. Now, would you say that power would it have been better had we never discovered that? Or was it better that we had discovered that? I don't know. It depends on what we do with this power. And all I'm saying is, people are people. We know what human behavior is like. It's not like we have, if I knew that the people running all that shit were fucking just wonderful, good, altruistic, angels, I don't think I'd have a problem. I just know that there's humans behind it. There's people.
Well, isn't that the idea of a democracy, though?
That's what I mean.
Is like there's checks and balances to that. It's not like we're appointed some dictator who gets, or a king who gets, born into it, and we have to deal with this tyranny no matter what.
And that's what I'm saying. So to have the power to monitor everything, that's a power that I'm not sure people would want government to have. And imagine what that would mean. Okay, so if you're in charge, let's say you're a Republican government in charge or a Democrat government in charge. And the reason why I'm using those two is because I know it'll get people to think or to kind of understand my thought process. Because if you're a Democrat, you wouldn't like the opposite. And if you're a Republican, you wouldn't like the opposite. So just imagine Trump. Imagine Trump, who Democrats can't stand, liberals can't stand. Imagine if he had total surveillance power and total autonomy. And he's like, I'm doing this for the good. Imagine if you had that. Now you're a liberal. Do you like that feeling? Probably not. Why? Because you think to yourself, he might influence the way people get elected. He may influence the way shit happens.
We've structured it so you can't do that. So one man or one woman could not have that much sole power by themselves.
You're right, and that's why we have courts, and that's why we have judges. Mm-hmm. However, we already have situations where right now, you, me, or Justin could get taken, could get thrown in a jail forever, indefinitely, without a trial or jury, without a judge. It used to be they used to have to go to a judge. They used to have to present information and say, hey, we have all the surveillance on Adam, and it shows this, that, and the other. And then the judge would do, okay, you guys can go in there. And there is that now. There is no more of that. All they have to do is say, he's a terrorist. This is all part of the National Defense Authorization Act and part of the Patriot Act. It used to be that if they wanted to survey you, if they wanted to listen to your phone calls and follow you around, they'd have to get a judge to approve it. They'd have to bring the case, be like, okay, we want to follow this person. Judge would say what? So there's checks and balances. They don't have to do that anymore.
Well, isn't the reason for that is because the process and how long it could take, and the reason what they didn't want, like, oh my God, we think that this guy.
That's the reason they gave, yes.
Right, and it's like, you know, he could be getting ready to do something, but we have to go through this whole process.
They have good intent, but on the flip side,
you guys
know, the American people, then there's that potential, like you had mentioned, it could definitely happen that way.
It could, and historically, it is what happens. Look, you guys know Hitler was elected, right? He didn't come to power.
Yep.
Through force. Right. He was elected. And you know how he was able to gain the dictatorship power that he ended up getting?
People loved him.
No, wasn't it
there's a lot of people that loved him. That's
all
why.
the workers.
There were a lot of people that liked him, yes, but there was one incident in particular. I think it was the Reichstag thing. I hope I'm saying it right. Fire, where there was a fire. People set fire to a government building, and at this time he was getting everybody up in a frenzy about internal terrorists, about internal threats, and he would blame the Jews quite a bit and talk about these people, communists and Jews and whatever. And so there was a fire on a government building, and people died, and it was a big fucking national deal. And he came out and said, look, I want to stop these terrorists, but I can't stop them with all these checks and balances. I need power to fucking act when this shit happens so I can prevent it. And they gave him that power. Mm-hmm. And then he became the dictator that was able to do all that crazy shit. And by the way, we all know now that fire was actually, it was widely speculated that he set that fire to gain that kind of power. I even think this happened in Star Wars, didn't it, Justin? I think they even showed a part where at one point they had the big committee with all the...
Yeah, it was one of the prequels where they basically instituted these wars and everything from, you know, behind the scenes, and then, you know, acted like they were trying to, you know, break it all up.
Yeah, make no mistake, the Patriot Act, National Defense Authorization Act were passed because of 9/11. 9/11 happened because they would have never passed before. If had the government come out and said, hey, we want to be able to throw people in jail forever, we want to be able to listen to people's phone calls without a warrant. We want to infringe all these liberties. The American people would have been like, fuck no, we're not going to let you do that. But then we had September 11th. Everybody was scared out of their mind. And so that's how they presented it. We need this for our safety. And so they passed it. And I'm not saying that they're doing anything bad with it, but that's just how this shit happens. So the fact that people are standing up, it's kind of a good sign. We'll see what happens. And remember, Facebook and Instagram are private organizations, so they don't have checks and balances.
Yeah.
Now they can't kill people and they can't do.
Well, that's why the only power we do have is to do exactly what CrossFit just did, which is like, we're going to create our own, you know, process with this.
Do you think anybody will follow?
I don't know, man. More and more people are doing it, though.
Yeah.
More and more people are doing it. And this is all new, right? Like, it's only recent. I mean, how long has Facebook really been around? How long? It's like
12 years.
12
maybe
years,
10 years.
It's
not like a decade. It hasn't been that long. Instagram even less than that. So I think we're reaching a point now where we're going to start to see some interesting things start to happen with all of this. And this is just kind of part of it. So, but is it going to be good for business? And is that the truth? I don't know. Some people are speculating CrossFit's doing it because of their business isn't.
15 years on Doug?
Oh, it's been a while. Well, I mean, it wasn't really
still not long.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't big until
15 years, and then Instagram's less than a decade.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It wasn't around that long.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. I would love to talk to Greg about this on a podcast.
That would be, that'd be a cool conversation.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot of things that I think we agree with or like that Glassman puts out there. Just not a big fan of his programming. That's all.
Just take that out.
I think as a person, I think we probably would like that. I think we would like.
He's probably an awesome dude. Just the workouts are not good. We're just being honest.
This Quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout. First question is from Wellness with Virginia. What are the benefits of squatting below parallel, and is it worth it for the average gym goer to practice that?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
I guess we could rephrase the question. What are the benefits of fuller ranges of motion versus shorter ranges of motion? I guess that would be another way of saying it. Well, here's the deal. When you're looking for specific types of performance, Sometimes it makes sense to train in shorter ranges of motion. But if you're looking for full muscle development, you're looking for muscle hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, and you want to develop fuller ranges of strength and control, then fuller ranges are better. But there's a caveat.
Not just that. You got to think of overall joint health too.
Right. You
start shortening the range of motion up on muscles, especially on something like squatting, where you just stop at 90 forever. I mean, your overall hip health.
Yeah, you're restricting a lot of your movement.
Yes, this is now the thing that I know that I think Sal's probably going to head towards right now. Anyways, before I interrupted, sorry.
No problem. Just do it.
Happens every time.
Really, I feel like I don't do it.
No.
We all do it.
But I wanted to point that out too, though. It's not just for development, but also for joint health. I think it's really important that we take the muscles through full range of motion. I mean, people would think it's hilarious if you walked around the gym and you saw people doing these like quarter curls.
Yeah.
All the time. Like if everybody in the gym was doing that, you'd be like, why would you do that?
Yeah, the reason why it's got a bad rap is because a lot of people can't do a full squat without movement or mobility issues.
Right. That's why all of our certifications taught us that way.
That's it. Like here's the caveat. You can do the fullest range of motion that you have complete control over.
Yeah.
Okay. So if your control, let's say you go down to parallel, and as soon as you go down below parallel, shit starts to break down. Should you then train in that new range of motion? No. You shouldn't, because you don't have control over it. Now, that being said, your goal should be to gain control over fuller ranges of motion. So you should do things like work on mobility, go lighter, perfect your form. But at the end of the day, the fuller range of motion for development purposes and just general fitness purposes is always going to be superior. Studies have demonstrated this time and time again. And of course, there's always those exceptions to the rule with like particular sports and athletics, where you're looking for very specific types of strength. But most people training don't fall in that category. I would say always aim. And so if you're one of those people, you do these quarter squats or full squats, and you're not doing or to 90-degree squats, and you're like, I can't do a full squat. When I do a full squat, it hurts my back, my form breaks down. Your goal should be to be able to do a full squat. So sure, still train at your 90 degrees, but then everything else you do is teaching you or getting your body able to train in that fuller range of motion.
Yeah, and I think too, like the warning for that is people a lot of times their idea of like going lower is to really start pressing, getting that depth, like a substantial depth, without going incremental inches along the way down, and then also like taking a lot of the load off of that, because these new ranges of motion are undeveloped. Like you have to be able to establish strength there first before pursuing, incrementally down deeper as you go. So it takes a lot of discipline and time to get down where you actually have the same equal amount of strength and force production from a lower depth like that. So just take your time.
Now, I want to dispel a couple myths. So like there's one myth, the one I used to hear all the time was, if you go too low on squats, it's bad for the knees. Now, if you have two squats, if we're observing two squats and we're observing the torque and the tension on the joints, and both squats are done with good control and good stability. Okay, so both of them are good. And one guy stops at 90 degrees and the other guy stops or goes all the way down.
I guess who has more torque on the knee?
The short squat.
That's right.
Because here's what happens when you stop a movement. So if I'm lower, let's say I'm squatting with 200 pounds and I'm lowering down with 200 pounds, the moment that I change directions, I'm actually, not only am I squatting the 200 pounds up, but I'm also preventing the momentum of the downward movement of the squat, which means I'm actually stopping more than 200 pounds. Yeah. So in other words, if you were, it's like trying to stop the momentum of something, not just the weight of it. So if I lifted 200 pounds dead off the floor, that's different than if it comes down and I have to stop it and then reverse directions. And when you stop at 90 degrees, a lot of the tension goes on the knees. When you stop at a full squat, and again, it has to be done with good control and good stability, more of the tension is on the hips. Now, which joint is more appropriately designed, or did we
fortified with muscles around?
Yeah, which joint is better able to handle more load, the hips or the knees? the hips, always, all day long, hands down. So the reality is, if you could do a full squat with good control and good stability, it's better for your knees.
It's key that you work towards this, though. I know when we first came out, we started sharing a lot about squatting deep and doing that, and then I'd catch like people tagging us on Instagram and videos, and I'd be like, oh God,
yeah,
like
you shouldn't be squatting all the way down.
You should be squatting all the way down. So it's that, like if most people that are either just getting into lifting or have been lifting for a long time and only squatting to 90 degrees, if they decide they're going to go right into a deep squat, they're going to have breakdown. You're going to your chest is probably going to fall way forward. You might round your upper back. You might have like an excessive butt wink, more than likely. And I say that being somebody who was this. I mean, when I was training as a competitor, not just that long ago, this has been a process over the last, I'd say now 3 years for me, of being somebody who squatted to about 90 degrees and that's it, to somebody now who can sit all the way at the bottom of the squat. But it was a very long process for me and a lot of attention and work. I work with a client right now. I have one client that I deal with, and she's in her 50s, and she can squat all the way down to the ground, but we have breakdown before she gets all the way there. So a lot of sometimes the entire session will be centered around her squat. So I'll have her come in and we get down and we do her 90-90. We do her zone 1 test from Prime and work up on her upper cross syndrome. And then we do some combat stretch. And then I'll get her in there and then I'll watch her squat. And then I'll let her go. I want her to go. I cue her to go all the way down. And we're normally not loaded right here. This is just body weight or real light weight on her. And I'll tell her to go as deep as she can. And then I'll see where she has breakdown. And I'll be like, stop right there. So I'll have her stop right there. And then I'll go back and we'll do some more work, some more priming, some more flexibility stuff, come back and see if I can gain an extra inch or two of range of motion. And it's just this kind of this process of squat, then we get back to some mobility work, squat, get back to some mobility work, squat, get back to some mobility work. And the whole session is centered around trying to get her to have better control and strength inside that newfound range of motion. And a lot of times I'll take them down to the very bottom of that, and then like create tension down in that bottom position
to own it.
Yeah, and fix your posture. I'll say, okay, get down here. Now here, get your chest up, pull the shoulder blades back more, sit up, open up your knees a little bit, and I'm giving
squeeze.
Yeah, and I'm giving all these cues down in that place and then wanting her to feel like this is how your body should feel down in this position. Think about that. So it's a long process. It's not a like, oh, you were told one day by some trainer to only squat to 90 to all of a sudden now you listen to Mind Pump. They've convinced you that squatting deep is better for you. And then all of a sudden you just go the next day and you're squatting all the way ass to grass.
Well, two things. And this is why I know like on our YouTube's long, ways back, like I was trying to demonstrate the Dumphy squat. And what I really did like about it is it helped people to understand that they could generate this internal tension. And this internal tension actually gives you feedback that your joints are supported. And so each way as you're pushing, so you're directing your force upwards and you're actually dropping into the squat as you're pushing up, which creates more tension, which supports the joints and allows you to gain further depth. Like if you just do that, it's eye-opening to see that, once your body feels like everything is okay, that sort of depth, you can achieve new levels. However, for me, like if I'm doing this by myself, I like to use step boxes or things where I can incrementally get feedback, where I can sit down and I felt like there was no interruption in my bracing and my support on the way to this level. I come back up, I can generate enough force to feel comfortable driving back out of that position as well.
Yeah, another myth that I'd like to dispel with this is oftentimes I'll have people that tell me, hey, my buddy is a power lifter and, he obviously knows how to squat because he's a high-level competitive power lifter, but now he's 45 and his hips or his knees are messed up. Or I knew the strength athlete that did lots of squats or whatever other exercise, and now this person can't do these movements anymore. They've had a knee replacement or a hip replacement. Okay, we have to understand what we're talking about here. We are talking about people who are pushing the limit to the extremes. In no way are any extremes ideal for health and longevity. I don't give a fuck what you do. If you are an extreme performer at a high level, you have now traded longevity and health for extreme performance.
Not to mention, Sal, just because you're a power lifter and you've been doing it for long doesn't mean that you're immune to fucking poor mechanics either.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people, and I'm going to pick on one of our good buddies, Lane, who lifts a lot of fucking weight, but gets injured a lot of the time for that because his mechanics aren't beautiful.
Right.
I'm barely just now seeing him start to get into like mobility and start to work on his depth and his posture when his squat. But he was squatting, 500 pounds and shit, and you're just waiting for injury to happen. So just because you're a power lifter and you've been doing it for a long time doesn't mean you're doing it well and correctly. And in fact, when the way this question is worded with the average gym goer to practice, I think it's more important for you. It's more important for the average person because you're talking about overall health and mobility is you should be working towards that. Now, most people listening are not going to have a good, deep ass to grass squat. Bottom line, and that's completely fucking normal, but it should not deter you from actually working towards that. Again, this is why Prime and Prime Pro was designed. And I tell you what, I'm so passionate about this subject because I can't believe how much better I feel today from all of that work. Like I used to have chronic low back pain all the time. And it was because I had mobility issues. I had poor hip mobility, and I just never addressed it. I had muscles. I looked good. I was lean. And so I didn't see purpose in doing that. And I remember after hanging out with Brink and him breaking me down from my feet all the way up, and I was like, "Fuck this! I need to work on all this." And then as I started to work on it, and I started to see, I felt better and better and better. And now I'm at a place which is so rad that I can sit down completely, and just chill in that position and feel very comfortable there. And it's eliminated my low back pain.
Right. Now back to the strength athlete, you use the example of Lane. Here's the deal. Like, how important is it that your tires and suspension are perfectly tuned when you're driving 35 miles an hour for a few miles down the road? It's not that important. How important is it for a Formula One car? It's so important.
Life or death.
Yeah, it's so important that if something's off by a little bit, you'll crash. So when you're lifting 600 pounds,
yeah, the stakes go way up.
Your form doesn't have to be good; it has to be perfect. Because over time, just 1 degree off of perfect,
That's right,
is an exponential increase in your risk of injury. So for most people listening, if you squatted and deadlifted like Lane, you're probably going to do absolutely great. But for a guy who deadlifts 600 pounds or close to 700 pounds and squats 600 pounds, just a 1 degree off of perfect is a huge risk, comparatively speaking, for injury. This is why I do not like to use the example of, I don't like when people say this guy who used to squat 600 pounds and now he can barely walk. And like, okay, you are talking about people who train at a level where anything short of absolute perfect mobility and control is a much higher risk. Look, if you're squatting 200 pounds for your workouts and your form is generally pretty gosh damn good and it's not perfect, but it's pretty good, you're fine. You'll squat like that forever. You'll be okay. You're squatting.
Damn.
I don't know. It's funny I said it that way. I say everything else, right? I don't know why.
Darn it.
I decided to not curse right there.
Fuck. Yeah.
But if you're a fucking animal and you are squatting tremendous amounts of weight and pushing your body to the limit, perfection is far, far, far more important.
Yeah.
So don't use those people as examples of why full squatting isn't healthy. I'm telling you this right now. If you can do it well and you have good control, a full squat on pretty much all parameters is going to be superior.
Wouldn't you guys say too, somebody who is chasing like overall health, just feeling better, how much more beneficial do you think it would be to like that be like a major focus? Like just get good at the squat. Just take yourself from somebody who can't squat beyond
just practice
90 and get to a point.
Totally.
Do all the mobility work, do all the training, everything you need to do. Just
It'll open up a whole new world.
Right. It's such a great overall full body movement that if you put all of your effort and energy, your programming all the way around, just becoming the person who can't squat beyond 90 degrees to somebody who can go ass to grass, the benefits that because I know what the amount of mobility work you'll have to do, which is going to burn calories, which could burn fat if you're in a caloric deficit. I know you're exercising, you're working on flexibility, you're working on stability, you're going to build strength. Like the carryover that you're going to get from just that, I think the average person, unless you're trying to compete on stage or do something ridiculous like that, is going to be probably far more beneficial than just following some normal routine and then going the rest of your life only being able to squat.
You know what it reminds me of? Who is that one basketball player that blew out his shoe? Zion?
Yeah.
Was that his name?
Yeah.
So you're talking about how big was the guy? 260 pounds?
Yeah.
260 pound, just guys generating force that you couldn't even imagine.
Something.
And he blew out a shoe. Now that shoe was probably 1 degree off of being constructed perfectly. I could have worn that shoe for 10 years.
Yeah, he exploded.
Yeah, it would have never done anything.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a dude who's generating some serious force and stopping power, blew out a shoe. So that's why again, going back to, the stronger you are and the harder you push yourself, the more perfect your form has to be.
Or you could work on a Jillian Michaels kettlebell swing.
That's right.
All right, next question is from Nathan Teal. What are the biggest myths in fitness? For example, the anabolic window.
Oh, boy. There's so many to count. You know what my favorite biggest fitness myth that exists today, the biggest one? That supplements make a huge difference.
So I was just going to say, Sal, like sometimes I think, because even the anabolic window is technically not a full-on myth. What I think the fitness industry has done is we've taken a little bit of science and we exaggerate the fuck out of it.
Well, it's just very low in the totem pole of priorities.
That we make small things super important.
Yes, that to me is there's not a lot of things. There's not a lot of things I believe that that are being promoted. I mean, just with the way information flows now, and it's something that's completely false and wrong doesn't seem to stick around very long. It's the things that are heavily debated back and forth of truth or not true or not true, that stick around, that we start to talk about as these myths. And the anabolic window and some of these things aren't so much myths as they are overly exaggerated on the real benefits of it.
Or the importance of
just like you're saying, you're alluding to with supplements. Like, we could sit here and debate all day long, is there a place for branched chain amino acids? Like, sure, if you're a hardcore endurance athlete or you're training twice a day,
your
protein is low, studies will show by taking this, yes. But Jesus, I mean, 99.9% of the population, it ain't going to do shit for you. It's not going to do hardly anything. And even the people that it will do something for, it's so minimal on what effect it's going to be for your overall aesthetics or health or strength or anything like that. So when I think of the myths that we talk about, sometimes the myths that we address aren't necessarily these like, they're wrong. You'll probably find some study somewhere that supports that it has some sort of benefit. The problem is that the industry has taken these things and they use it to market and sell either ideas, programs, supplements, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, think about it. If you're a marketer and you're like, okay, we know how important sleep is to fitness. Like if you get good quality sleep, you're going to burn more body fat, build more muscle because your body's healthier, so it adapts better. You're not going to crave as many of these, terrible foods. It's better for inflammation. It's better for heart disease. I could go down the list, right? But good sleep, quality, adequate sleep, super, super, super important. But here I am, I'm a supplement company, or I'm a company. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to make any money off of that?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Here's a supplement you can take that'll make that all happen for you. No, not going to happen. Yeah. It's way more complex.
Here's
than
NyQuil.
That. Yeah, I mean,
for gains.
Yeah, so that I think that's one of the big. No, there are some pure myths out there. Like, don't get me wrong. There's some things that are complete bullshit. Like, rub this gel on your legs and it'll burn body fat off of your legs alone. That one keeps resurfacing every 10 years or so. They keep coming out with some new.
We just want it to work, Yeah,
there keeps coming to some new shit that is supposed to do that. Small meals throughout the day make you build muscle and burn more body fat. I mean, if it doesn't change your diet, like if it's not like if you eat small meals because it helps you eat better, definitely. But if the same diet, no, it's not going to make a difference. But the biggest one that I think is just the importance of supplements. Here, let me give you an example of what I mean, okay? You have people who bulk at a gym membership price, who will look at their gym and be like, I'm paying $25 a month. The gym down the street, way better, way less people, better equipment, but it's $45 a month. Nah, I'm not going to do that. It's another $20. Fuck that. Same person spends $150 on supplements. What? Like, you have completely you completely don't understand the real importance of where you're investing your time and money. Or the same person who's like, I've been following the same workout for the last 5 years. I'm not progressing. Oh, I know what it is. I need more supplements to make that happen.
Or somebody that leans towards the performance side of supplements, but then is so out of whack with their micronutrients that their body needs. You're lacking in vitamin D. You don't get enough of these basic necessities in your food, and then you go lean towards some high performance supplement, thinking that it's going to do some. It's like putting high octane gas in your car that has the timing belts off. It's got one flat tire. It's fucking no oil in it, and you're putting high octane gas in it. It's like, fix the other parts that are far more important for longevity and making sure that this performance stuff is going to help you out. You're far better off, which you can find all of those things nutritionally in food. And or if you're going to supplement, that's the direction that I typically would recommend someone to get that all.
Look, earlier in the episode, we were just talking about reishi, that has adaptogenic properties, helps with anxiety and all that. So let me give you a scenario. Let's say you're somebody who you're just suffering from the effects of mismanaged stress. You have too much stress in your life. You're not getting enough sleep. And so you suffer from the symptom. You have a lot of symptoms of that, a lot of consequences. You're anxious. You don't feel good. You've got weird cravings. Maybe you're moody. Maybe hormones start to get out of balance as a result of this. Is taking reishi going to fix all that? No. You got to fix your sleep. You got to fix your diet. You got to fix how you handle your management. Now, if you do all that and then you add a little bit of reishi to it, can it help the process? Yes, it can help the process, but it won't do shit for you if you don't handle those other things. Here's another example. I'm eating too many calories. Oh, I'm going to go buy some fat burners. That'll help me burn body fat. Is it going to help you burn body fat? No, it's not going to do a damn thing to help you burn body fat. Oh, I'm going to take creatine because it's going to help me build muscle, but I'm not even lifting weights. Is the creatine going to really benefit me at all in that department? No, complete waste of time and money. Even supplements that have an incredible effect in comparison to other supplements, like creatine. By far, okay, if you look at all the performance enhancing supplements that are out there, creatine is supported by studies way more than anything else. Studies show unequivocally that for most people, not all people, but most people, it's going to contribute to more strength, faster muscle growth, better recovery, all that stuff. Even creatine does maybe, how much of a percentage do you think it'll improve your physique and performance? A couple percent, 1% maybe, even creatine. So that for me is the biggest myth. And the reason why we don't understand that is because the vast majority of marketing coming from the fitness space is to try to convince us of the importance of supplements, overemphasize the importance. And the reason why they do this is because that's what they can sell. Yeah. They can't sell to you better behavior patterns unless they're putting a course or a class together or whatever. Like, look, here's the deal. We sell fitness programs. I 100% know that selling fitness programs is not the easiest and best way to make money in fitness. For sure, Mind Pump would be, I don't know, how much bigger do you think our revenue would be if we didn't sell fitness programs and we sold supplements?
$10 million a year.
Yeah, we would be, no problem. We'd be blowing the doors off of.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
So I would say that has to be, for me, when I look at it, that has to be one of the biggest fitness myths.
It's really unfortunate too, because this morning I was talking to somebody who listens to the show, and they wanted to send over their pre-workout and branched chain amino acid that they're creating, and he's like, I just really like to hear your opinion on it, this and that. You could check it out. And he's like, I know your guys' stance on the show, but I'd like you to look at it. And I'm thinking to myself, fuck, man, it's crazy. People that listen to the show know what we talk about. Still, people out there create because they know that's where all the money is, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But it's like I would so hate for that to be tied to how our success is. It's like our success depends on people buying supplements or buying product. And that was one of the things that was always really important to us, even with the companies that we work with, like the Four Sigmatics, like the Organifis. It's like, dude, we will not change our message to push the product, 100%.
No, we're going to talk about really how it's used,
right.
Its real importance, and the irony of that is we convert for those companies so well. And I think part of it is I think people appreciate honesty finally.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think the industry's been around for so long that people now are like, okay, yeah, I know that there's a lot of bullshit out there. Like, oh, these guys are telling the truth. I still take supplements. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that I'm not fooling myself with how important they are.
Yeah.
For sure, it's like if like my workout, my sleep, and my nutrition are 99% of my.
Well,
success.
that's what always got to me was, you know, and I think I said this a long time ago on the show. It's like, hey, if money ain't a big deal to you, you know what I'm saying? You got money to spend and blow, and you know, $200-300 a month ain't shit to you. Like, then why not? Then why not have all these cool supplements at your disposal that you could? Oh man, I didn't get very much rest last night. I'm going to take my reishi tonight. Oh, I skipped some of my greens today. Make sure I get my green juice. I'm getting ready to get into my workout. I need an extra kick, so I'm going to take my and you got all this money. Like, okay, why, whatever. But that's not the people that I'm worried. I think of myself as a kid when I was first getting into this space. And, you know, I think I made like my first job when I was making, you know, $4 or $5 an hour. I think I was making like $600 a month, you know, and 200 and something of that was going towards supplements.
Yep.
Like, that's a big fucking deal, you know, because I wanted to gain muscle so bad that I was doing whatever I thought all these guys that were at that next level were doing that I needed to do, and that was the missing piece.
Imagine had you invested that $200 a month in
anything
in
else.
A personal trainer,
right,
or in a good like fitness workout program that was really, really good, like
or stocks,
or if you're trying, of course,
or education, or anything else,
of course,
or anything else. You know what I'm saying? It was just it was such a waste of money. As I got older, when I learned more and understood, I realized like, oh wow, like, you know, and when I think of all the clients, you know, the hundreds and hundreds of people that I have fundamentally changed their lives forever for the good, you know, that they're much healthier, they're in a much better position for whatever reasons that, you know, and I look at what I did for them, I can't say a single one of them had anything to do with a supplement recommendation to them.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of the myths that are like training and nutrition myths have their roots in the same myth that we're talking about right now. So, for example, the anabolic window. Right after you work out, you got to consume protein and carbs because it really speeds up the recovery and it builds muscle. And if you don't eat or feed yourself within that anabolic window, you're missing out on all these gains. Mm-hmm. Why do you think they push that so hard? Because right after your workout, the easiest, most convenient way to get protein and carbs is to have a shake.
Yeah.
That's why. Not only that, but they'll sell the window so hard that then it becomes the faster you can absorb.
Well, that's also the same hysteria that caused people to like think that they're just going to lose muscle right away from fasting.
Yes.
You know, it's like
how do you make money off fasting?
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. And they've found ways like, do BCAs while you fast, right?
Yes.
Like, all this shit. And it's like, what are we doing here? You know, we're just trying to sell you some shit.
Yeah. With the small meals throughout the day. Part of that is in that some bodybuilders ate 6,000 calories a day. Good luck doing that in just 3 meals.
Right.
But a big part of it, a large part of the reason why it was pushed on everybody is if I'm telling I used to do this as a trainer. I used to teach my clients this because I thought this was true.
Oh, yeah.
You tell the average person who's consuming 1,800 or 2,500 calories or less, especially less, hey, you need to eat 6 small meals throughout the day, and they have a job, a family, they work out 3 days a week. Guess what 3 of those meals are going to consist of? A bar or a shake.
Yep.
So of course they push that because it sold more supplements. It sold more of that stuff. Pre-workout, okay? Pre-workout was a category that did not exist. Yeah. That shit didn't exist when I was lifting. Nobody fucking talked about how important it was to have, you know, special amino acids and things before your workout. Some of us had coffee before we worked out. That's what we did.
It's funny you point to coffee because I think that part of the creation of it was the rise of Starbucks. The rise of Starbucks and coffee becoming something that a ritual that everybody in the world does now. Like it wasn't like that before. Not everybody drank coffee like everybody drinks coffee today.
Only like really angry old men.
Right. And so so when that also now when the whole world is used to having 70 to 150 milligrams of caffeine every single day, and then you got to go to a workout 4, 5, 6 hours later in your day, and your energy levels aren't quite there anymore because you're constantly fucking hammering your system with caffeine.
And you know how you can affect your body to get you on a high again.
Right.
It's like, ooh, well, it has what I like from this. It has more of it in here.
Well, what they did is they ritualized the supplement. Like if you could ritualize a supplement and make it a part of someone's ritual. So here's the thing. What do we know to be true of all people that work out? Okay, based on the statement that I just said. So the sentence I just said was, what do you know to be true of everybody that works out? They all work out.
They work out.
So if I want to sell a supplement to everybody that works out,
it's got to tie into the workout.
Let me ritualize it to the workout. Oh, I know. We've already sold everybody on the post-workout window, so that's gone.
Bro, supplements are
so let's come up with a pre-workout.
Yeah, bro, supplements are so gangster.
Yeah.
They made
caffeine before I go to bed.
A pre, an intra, and a post now, dude.
Because they ritualized. It's exactly, and it works.
Oh, you should see all my bodybuilder buddies. Dude.
It's like fucking works.
Carrying their big duffel bag away, and then
it was like their carb water.
Hour and a half workout, and there's like 3 stopping periods of taking your pre, taking your intra, and taking your post. It's like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
They got you.
It was brilliant. It's brilliant marketing. But yeah, a lot of the myths that you get kind of come from that. And here's the bottom line. And this has always been true. This will always be true. If you eat right according to your body and your goals, if you exercise properly, that's a big one, by the way. For some reason, the last 10 years, we've completely negated the effects of a good, properly programmed workout. All of a sudden, it became just work out. It really doesn't matter. It's all about the supplement. No. The workout makes a big, big, big difference. It's either half of the equation. And you have good sleep. That's like everything. Yeah. If you focus all your energy on those 3 things, you are going to get phenomenal results. Results.
And also too, from the training perspective, like I'm always like I could point out like that's a myth, but just because the claims that are attached to one style of training or one equipment, piece of advice, like a device that they're trying to sell you on an infomercial, they're trying to tell you it does everything, and all that's pure bullshit.
You know what? Can you, Justin, make a note here to do this? I actually would love to do this because on this topic, have Shannon design a pie chart
of the importance of everything.
Yes, and let's put it on the nutrition program.
That'll get shared like crazy.
I know, and let's create a nice graphic like that we can post on the main page, and then we'll stir up some shit. We can get some good conversation around that.
All right, next question is from SoCali Jets Girl. What are your thoughts on at-home fitness programs such as those developed and marketed by Beachbody?
You know what's cool?
We're just going to roast everybody
there. Yeah. Did you pick these, Sal? Sal must have been in a mood this morning, dude. He's let's fuck some shit up today.
You guys can tell.
Here we go.
Actually, I would say, I think that Beachbody is our direct competitor. So, and I think quietly we've always thought about this from the day we started. When this thing actually got legs, it started to turn into a real business, and we looked at our space and thought, who can we do this better than that's doing it currently right now and making a lot of money? And I think of Beachbody right away. Like I don't think of all these other small fish in the sea that are other trainers that are trying to sell good programs and do those. I don't look at them as competitors. I see Beachbody owning a massive part of the pie in at-home programming and programs in general that are completely designed around the person and their marketing, which is the same thing bodybuilding.com did. So I look at bodybuilding.com and Beachbody as our closest direct competitors of what we did. And that's what we knew we had a lot of opportunity because those companies are making millions and millions of dollars.
They're marketing behemoths. And the thing is, they've figured out the formulas that really people respond to the most. And they play off of all those different insecurities, like to the T. And most of their instructors, I mean, in my opinion, it feels a lot more like Group X instructors, like an aerobic type based programming for all the way across the board. Even, some of their bodybuilding type programming that they throw out there. So, prove me wrong, but for me, it's always seemed that they cater to people love like an experience and they want to be able to feel things like a burn and a sweat. And so they want to cater to that. And so they're giving the consumer what they want, not what they need.
It's the same thing that Sal talks about with processed foods. All the energy and effort put into the product, right? Put into Beachbody is all around the look, the smell, the taste. That is everything about it, and the actual substance of it is
shit.
Shit.
It's the processed food of programming.
No, it's exactly what it is. And they've done an incredible job.
It's sliced American cheese.
Yeah.
Easy cheese. It's
cheese.
not even that good.
It's a Cheez-It.
Yeah.
It's a cheese.
Now,
Cheese whiz.
okay, the question is, what do we think about those programs? Here's what we think about those programs. We literally looked at it and said, "Oh shit, here's an opportunity."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're so
Let's do this.
They're so terribly programmed. Like a personal trainer who just started at a big box gym will put together oftentimes a workout that's better than the ones that are on. These are all the workouts are make you sweat, make it fun, make you sore. We're done. Oh, it's got to look cool. We're going to have a cool person. We're going to have a ripped person teaching you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Good looking instructor, hype music around it.
Totally.
All marketing.
And the problem is like you'll see a lot of people getting benefit and result because they weren't doing anything before that. It's like at the end of the day, a shitty program that you're going to do consistently is better than not doing something.
You're
right?
moving.
Yeah, but like you'll see a lot of testimonials, results, things like that. And it may be, but they don't know any different.
No. You know what? Here's the deal. You want to save your money? Let's say you're like, hey, it's still moving. I'm still moving, but you want to save some money. Here's what you do. Keep your TV off and just do jumping jacks for 45 minutes.
Right.
It's the same
exact.
You're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
It's terrible exercise programming designed to attract the consumer who wants something that looks cool and looks fun. And so they'll theme them like this is cowboy fitness and this is urban fitness and this is military style fitness and then hey, throw in some exercises nobody's seen before and here do this weird thing that looks really
It's
cool.
the hula hoop girl workout.
And they're like, who should we select to do this program? And they'll have a lineup of trainers be like, that guy looks the best. He's hot.
He's ripped.
Let's put him in there. That's going to totally work. And guess what? It does from a marketing standpoint.
work.
They sell you a lot, but no, this is 100%. It's funny when we first met, when we started Mind Pump. This is one of the topics that we had. One of the topics of conversation. We sat down and we were all like, the programs that are out there that people are buying. You know what good programs are out there? I'll tell you what. There are good fitness programs out there, but here's what they are. They're all designed for power lifters and strength, like hardcore strength
like
athletes.
The West Side
Yeah,
barbell.
those are the only the programs that I look at and I go, oh yeah, that's because they literally the money and time goes into designing the program.
Well, it's the only one that has like real measurables that you can look back and go like it worked or it didn't work.
That's right.
Because if you take somebody, everybody that's listening right now has shoulders, has biceps, has chest, has abs, has legs. And a lot of us have layers of body fat over that. If I put them on a calorie restricted diet, make them move for 45 minutes.
Indiscriminately, by the way.
Yes.
Any movement.
Flail your arms around. And I make you do that for 3 to 5 times a week. Okay. And we look at your before and after 6 months later, you will look lean and you'll look muscular because you got rid of all the body fat that was covering all the muscles you already had. So it's not hard. It's not hard to fool people into thinking that it's a great program. But if you're a power lifter and you've never powerlifted before and you've got your first meet in 6 months and you buy said program.
You buy freaking P90X. I'm going to go compete in power.
Right. And you buy one of these shit programs.
I would love to vlog that.
And you follow it for 6 months and then you show up and you get your ass handed to you.
You're like when I first started, I used to be able to squat 200 now.
I squat 180.
130.
I squat 180 now. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So you're right, Sal. I mean, those are probably some of the best programs that have been around those are about the only programs, which that's what we saw. We saw this huge opportunity when we decided to monetize the business and go, wow, we can actually create just really good programs for the average consumer, the average gym goer that wants to feel better, look better, move better. We can create programs for them and actually just create really solid programs. And there's a great example in Beachbody, bodybuilding.com for us because these companies are making millions and millions of dollars off of all these people that don't know better. And if we can come in with a better, smarter message and we can find a way to capture a large enough audience, we can provide a product that's 10 times more superior than that.
And a big part of the problem of this is what's known as the unseen. And so what the unseen is, hey, I followed Beachbody's workouts and I ate less calories. and I look way better than I used to. The problem is they don't have anything they can compare it to, because what they don't know is what they would have looked like had they done it right, and how they would have felt, and the longevity of the progress that they're getting. They don't know what they're comparing it to. They're just comparing it to, before, when I did nothing and ate too much food, which, it's better than that, but barely.
It makes me want to create a mountain body program. You know what I mean?
Next question is from Xenia Rador. In episode 1034, you briefly talked about the importance of influencing people to change their behavior in regards to health and fitness instead of just focusing on facts. Can you share some strategies for behavior change?
Boy.
The first thing that comes to mind is, and I thought we talked about this in that episode. I don't remember if we did or not. But when it comes to behavioral change in people, a lot of times when you're addicted to something or you have bad behaviors, you're connecting the dots to one thing, right? Like, oh, this makes me feel good, therefore I do it all the time. Or this makes me look a certain ways, therefore I do it all the time. And we can talk about anything. It's not just fitness and nutrition. You can talk about drugs the same way. When you get high,
you feel good.
And so all I think about is the high. I don't think about what's going on inside of my body, or, how am I going to feel tomorrow? And, how's my heart because of that?
Or how are my friendships and my relationships?
Yeah, right. There's so many other variables that are being affected that you don't. And so when you have a bad behavior or you have an addiction to something, you've normally attached yourself to one variable only, and that's what you live. So one of the keys to changing behavior in clients is teaching them to connect to all the other variables that are so important for their success. And when you talk about health and longevity, you talk about the things like hair and stool and relationships and energy and sleep and strength and skin. There's so many other things that nutrition and exercise, joint health, mobility, these things are all affected by the way we exercise, the way we eat. And so if we can find ways to help our clients make those connections when they do whatever it is they do, whether it's a food choice or an exercise or the lack of exercise choice, if you can help to start to connect those dots for them and have them to focus on it, reframe the way they look at it, they think about it, and they feel about it, then it's much easier to help them make the behavioral change.
You're helping them become more aware, or bring more awareness around the activity. Here's two big things. One is, if you're trying to help someone positively with a behavior that they're having a challenge over, start out by being vulnerable. Okay, people are far more likely to accept or listen to the advice or feedback from someone they relate to versus someone they don't relate to. And oftentimes, as a trainer, this client views you as this super rare,
flawless
fitness Adonis or God. You're just a special type of person, and this is why
they're not wrong.
It's easy for you. This is why it's easy for you to eat right. This is why it's easy for you to exercise, because you're totally different from me. So you have to be vulnerable to this person and talk about your own challenges with all of these things and other things. That makes a huge. It took me a long time to learn that. I used to think I had to present myself as this super fitness being, and I realized later on, if I was just honest with people and presented my vulnerability, they would relate to me better, and then they would be more vulnerable, and then it opened the door. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here's the second thing. Start out by being empathetic to the challenges that these people have. Just because their behavior is so simple and easy for you to identify and to fix doesn't mean it's easy for them. And I learned this later on. I had a client who was a super, super successful entrepreneur. I trained him when I was, I think I was 23 or 24. And this guy was worth, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I remember I used to love training him because I would ask him about business. And of course, I was his trainer, so I would help him with fitness and nutrition. And he had these 30 pounds that he had to lose, and he wanted to get stronger. And it was a tough thing for him. I trained him for a long time, and it was a tough thing. And one day we're having this conversation, and I'm I told him, I said, John, what are this? Just give me the steps to becoming as successful as you. And he says, Sal, he goes, I've already told you the steps. He goes, they are very simple. If you literally just follow those steps, the odds that you'll be far more successful monetarily than you are now are super, super high. And at that moment when I heard that, I started laughing, and he's like, why are you laughing? And I said, it's funny because 5 minutes ago, you asked me the same question about nutrition and fitness, and I've been training you for a year, and it's been very difficult. And I just realized that it's the same thing. The difference is fitness and health comes easy to me. And to me, it seems so simple. To you, it's a difficult challenge. Becoming extremely successful monetarily is like fitness for me. It's very easy for you. But for me, it looks like this insurmountable challenge.
Crazy algorithm.
And I just realized that it's no different. All I got to do is follow the steps and apply myself. And just like you, if you follow the steps and apply yourself, will get much more fit and lose the 30 pounds and get much more healthy. If I apply the same steps that you told me, I will probably be far more successful than I am now monetarily. And so it really got me to just to feel empathy for people. Like, okay, because you get frustrated as a trainer. Like you tell your client, don't drink soda, and the fucker drinks soda. And you're like, just fucking listen to me, man. It's super easy. Yeah. Like you got to empathize with them.
Seems so simple. Yeah. And here's the thing too. I mean, you definitely want to keep to in terms of having that objective like truth, like having that still there, and I've had conversations, but you want them to bring that to you, like in terms of like even taking objective information, like, weight and body fat and these types of things where, we could talk about the behaviors that led into this, but it's like, I'm still going to present you with the facts. Like, you being at this body fat percentage is not a healthy range, and like I have to be able to convey that information to you. Like it'd be more ideal if we were able to work in this direction. And I know it's a tough path to get there, but like the behavior is really where we're going to stress. Like that's what we need to change in order to, get you there. I think that a lot of times like, I know going through that, you try and avoid, like, sometimes being like, you're unhealthy, you're fat. Like, as a trainer, like, you don't want to, like, tell your clients, like, like, you always want to bring the positives into the mix. But sometimes it's worth a conversation to just be real and honest and be like, like, we're still in this range. We got work to do, but, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the behaviors that are, happening, leading in this direction.
Yeah, it's, here's the other thing, too. And I think I made this mistake earlier on too. Sometimes constantly pushing someone in a direction makes it take longer for them to finally move in that direction. Something I learned later on is I had to make them think it was their idea. So the way I used to train people, they'd come in, I want to lose 30 pounds, I want to whatever, and I'd fucking give them, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna eat this way, you're gonna work out, and I'd give them everything, and then I'd hammer them to do what I told them. And if they didn't do it, I'd hammer them more. And if they did it, great job. And the success rate was low. Sure, I had people lose weight and get in better shape, but nobody stayed that way. Later on, what I would do is I would start real slow. People come in, okay, I want to lose 30 pounds. Like, tell me exactly what to eat. Oh, hold on a second. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to help you with exercise. And then I'd train them and I'd talk them out of it. And then what would end up happening is they'd come up to me and be like, hey, I'm cutting sugar out of my diet. I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. What else can I do? And I'm like, oh, well, try this one thing. Once they started to come to me for some of the stuff, it became permanent. It became permanent change. Now, here's the deal. You have to know this as a trainer. Sometimes it takes a long-ass time. I had clients that I trained for 10 years who wanted to lose, 30 pounds, for example. I had one guy I ended up training this guy for 10 years. Do you know how long it took him to lose 30 pounds? 3 years. It took him 3 years to lose it. Now, to be quite honest, it actually took him less than 6 months to lose it, but it was the last 6 months of the 3 years. It finally clicked, and I didn't hammer him the whole time. He knew where he was at. He knew where I stood. I'd give him the information, no problem. But we worked on all these small things, and then finally, it was his idea. Okay, that's it, Sal. I'm ready now. I'm ready to do this. And he started making these changes because we had discussed them and talked about them.
You're just planting seeds constantly.
And it became permanent.
Some of the things you have to do too, to that point, Sal, you're making, I think is really good, is when I would give clients, like, for example, like one of the things I was just talking to somebody about the other day about trying to help improve her sleep because she has anxiety. She doesn't sleep very well. And, so I've told her to, pull off the electronics at least 2 hours before she goes to bed. If not, put on some sort of blue blocker glasses if she's going to be on her computer or watching TV. And then when they do it, so it's one thing to get them to do a small behavioral change like that. the next thing that I have to keep doing is like, hey, asking about the sleep and asking about their energy today and how they felt when they went to bed and like when they woke up. And you have to kind of keep prodding at the other things that relate to it. Like remember, this person's ultimate goal is to lose 10 pounds of body fat. And here I am addressing something that there isn't their primary goal. And so when people have a goal like that and they're looking at something like the scale, like losing 10 pounds, and they're trying things like wearing blue blocker glasses or turning off their electronics before they go to bed so they can get better sleep, so they then can maybe balance out their hormones better. All they're looking at is the scale, and if it's not responding the way they want to, they automatically will dismiss some things, not realizing what's going on. And so that helps too, is as you implement these small behavioral changes, is you got to keep reinforcing the other things that you want them to focus on and look at.
It's the big picture.
Yeah, other than just the one main goal of losing body fat or building muscle, is constantly paying attention to energy levels, skin, hair, sleep, stool, all these other things. And obviously stool is not really so much affected with the electronics things, but whatever it is that you're telling them as far as a new behavior, pay attention to those other things that should be affecting and make sure that you're helping connect those dots. You keep reinforcing that. Before long, they should go, hey, you know what? You're right. I noticed that. You know why? Because I forgot, and I was on my computer last night really late. It was the first time I had done that in 2 weeks, and it was the worst sleep I got all night. And they start to notice it themselves because you've helped make that connection. So you do got to kind of have to do that a lot.
And that's when the weight loss becomes the side effect of all those amazing
You almost
changes.
have to have a checklist of all these different things that you just constantly are bringing up and finding out. Like, that's part of the conversation. That's part of training, is really just listening, listening to what they're doing, like outside of training and all the lifestyle, like things are involved with that will like contribute towards either their success or what's holding them back.
Exactly. Look, go to mindpumpfree.com and download our guides. They're all absolutely free. Also, you can find us all on Instagram. Justin is on Mind Pump Justin. I'm at Mind Pump Sal, and Adam is at Mind Pump Adam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.